He looks like he just got out of high school.
Oh, man. You're making me feel old, man. I got
Look at him. Look at him. I mean,
we're
all jealous.
We got to put Doc Rob over here. So let me get out. Yeah, let me tell you about.
We're all jealous when we look at TODD GOLDEN, new Florida head coach. Congratulations, TODD. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. From the first interview you did with me
a couple years ago, right?
3 years ago?
Yeah,
4
4
years
now,
ago?
I guess.
WCC Media Day. Yep. And Todd was a little nervous, I think, going into that interview.
It was my first time.
First one, but he killed it.
Thank
now, 4 years later in the SEC. So, has it hit you? I mean, this is like, Florida.
Yeah.
Florida, Billy Donovan, national titles. I don't want to intimidate you, scare you or anything, but
pressure's a privilege, man. It's you know what? We've been hitting the ground running. We've been really busy over the last week. All good things. So, my family and I are, really grateful for the way we were received down there. It's an incredible community. It's something that we experienced in our time at Auburn that's just really unique. And to be honest, San Francisco, the West Coast, is just different. They don't care about basketball as much. It's not as much of a priority, and it's something that I missed. And so to be able to get back down there, Scott Strickland, he's been amazing, just really opening his arms to my family and I. And I feel like we're getting off to a really good start.
You know when I first met Scott Strickland, the AD who hired you?
When?
He was an SID, a sports information director at Kentucky.
There you go.
How about that?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Time flies.
Time flies. Now, listen, great program. You guys have already kind of hit the portal running, right? I mean, how hard is it when you get the job?
Yeah.
You don't know their personnel.
Sure.
Anything like that. You're probably, your head's spinning, trying to figure who's coming back, who do we want back? We go in the portal. If we take this kid back, it might hurt us getting someone. Like, what has that process been like?
You know what? I think the way we look at it, when I say we, my staff and I, we're really unique. We wanted the guys that were there that wanted to be at Florida to stay. I think of Florida, it's, for me personally, it's, I would say, one of the best jobs in the country. I think of it along the lines of a Villanova, a Virginia. You can really recruit really, really talented, smart kids who are good kids who just want to be, put the team in front of themselves. So we didn't want to go in there and try to blow this thing up and, just piecemeal it together. We really want to build a program. And so, trying to keep guys around, see what they want to do. And then, as the roster kind of filters out here, we'll look to add some pieces we need to. But we don't have to rush, man. And the thing that I'm most grateful about is I don't feel like we have to compromise in terms of what we want to do. It's that good of a job. You don't have to take chances on kids or any risks that might put yourself in a bad spot. So we're really excited about that.
How big of a difference is it when you're trying to identify the players that you're looking to bring in, right? You go from a WCC school that's high academic to going to Florida in the SEC, right?
Yeah.
There's a different kind of player that you're going to be going after here. So how do you change what you're looking for, or do you change what you're looking for?
A lot of the same processes. Obviously, we can get involved with a lot more kids, but Florida is a very good academic school also. It's the 5th best public institution in the country, so we can, that appeals to a lot of kids.
You got those facts ready, huh?
No, I mean,
you
it's
studied
accurate.
the brochure.
So, you can go into any living room for a high academic kid, they're going to listen, and so we have a really wide pool that we can pull from. And like I said, for example, we went on the road last week, saw 6 kids in 2 days. Every single kid wants to visit. It's one of those jobs that you can get involved with any kid. And so one of the things that I talk to my staff about is we have to be really patient. We have to really decide, what kids fit the way we want to play, what kid fits, the framework of our program. Make sure we get the right kids on the bus, and then we'll go from there.
You did a nice job recruiting internationally at San Francisco. Is that something, well, I got a couple questions. Okay. Is that something you'll continue to do at Florida? And then what are the benefits of taking some kids internationally and things of that nature? It'll
definitely be a pool we pull from. The SEC is one of the leagues across the country, I feel like, that hasn't recruited internationally very much.
Right.
And so, I'm used to, Mark Few and Tommy Lloyd getting all the top international kids. So now I'm going to go in there and try to take those guys. Because now I have a brand and a program that we can sell in that conversation. I don't know how big of a part it will be of our roster, but we'll definitely go over there, see who's available, and if we can get a pro from over there, we're going to try to do it.
Absolutely.
You said you have multiple questions. I'm going to let you ask them.
No, I was just more so the benefits of having the European kids on your roster. How's the mindset different compared to some of these American players and so on and so forth?
Yeah, you know what? It was unique at San Francisco because it was such a good sell for us. It took me a little bit to figure out, what our target was in recruiting, and what we found in San Francisco, we were never going to beat Cal or Stanford on a kid.
Right.
It didn't matter how hard we worked. It didn't matter how early we identified the kid. If Cal or Stanford came in above us or UCLA, we just weren't going to beat them. And so what we realized was all right, internationally, San Francisco was a recognizable city, right? Every kid in Europe, when you think of America, you think of LA, you think of New York, you think of Chicago, Miami, San Francisco. So we would be able to go and beat a program like Texas Tech or Creighton, somewhere in the middle of America where they weren't as familiar with the geography or something like that. So this now I think it's going to take a little bit, but we'll figure out if there's that same value at Florida. I do think, like I said, there's not a lot of European kids in the league. So I think there's a little bit of an opportunity there to just get into the SEC if some kids want to play in that environment. But we'll kind of see how it goes.
You want to mention my tweet that I tweeted after you got hired?
I'll let you mention that and comment on it afterwards.
I will. You know me. Listen, I'll say it the way it is.
For sure.
And again, it's not that I don't think you're a great coach. I just felt like SEC is tough. You've got Calipari. You got Bruce Pearl, who you know well.
That's my guy.
You got Nate Oates. You got Eric Musselman. They're all ahead of the game when it comes to NIL.
Yep.
And they've all got, not all basketball schools. Maybe Alabama's not a basketball school, but
Nate's done a great job.
He's done a great job making it into one. I just feel like the biggest thing for you was going to be fighting from behind on an NIL. Now, again, you, me, and Chandler Parsons have been on a little bit of on a text chain here, and Chandler might help out a little bit on the NIL front. But I just felt like Pac-12 might have been more your comfort zone.
Yeah.
How was it when again, you can't say no to Florida. I get that.
No way.
But how tough is it when you look at some of those names in the league that a lot of people think can be tougher to coach it?
Yeah.
How's that?
It's a fair question. But to be honest, like we had, they were different types of challenges, but in the West Coast Conference, I was at San Francisco. We didn't have many resources. We didn't have we didn't charter. We didn't do, a lot of these things. Going up against Gonzaga, a top 5 team in the country that had a budget that was probably 8x ours. They were charting everywhere. BYU, 20,000 seat arena. We play in the 2,700 seat arena. Santa Clara was chartering everything. They had just built a $40 million practice facility. So there were some challenges that we had to fight. The WCC is a great coaches league. Take myself out of it. Pope, Randy Bennett, the guy I played for. Herb Sendek, 3-time Coach of the Year in 3 different conferences nationally. Lorenzo Romar won 2 or 3 Pac-12 Coach of the Year awards, won 4 championships in 11 years. There were some really dang good coaches in that league, and we were able to get to the top, or get in the mix in the top 3rd, 4th. And so I think the one thing that I'm really excited about is I don't feel like I'm taking a knife into a gunfight anymore. I'm at Florida. I have a brand. I have something that I can sell. Are those guys great coaches at great programs? Sure. But now I feel like I'm on an even playing field, so I'm excited to see what we can do.
I want to ask you about some of the analytics stuff that you do.
Okay.
You do things like foul when you're up 2 at the end of a game to get the ball back, right? Where does this come from? Why do you do these things? I don't want to say that they're crazy, but unconventional is the perfect word for it. Where did this come from?
Really it started when I was a player. I got recruited as a walk-on to St. Mary's, playing for Randy Bennett and Kyle Smith, and they had a system where they would evaluate players in practice called the hustle stats. And they would track between 30 and 40 stats in every 5-on-5 possession in practice. They would film it, go in the office afterwards, drill it for an hour, and not just like box score stats like assists, turnovers, like different things like virtual assists or assist to fouls, blow-bys, blow-by middles, defensive rotations, all these different things. And what it did was it was a meritocracy. If you were able to be one of the most impactful players to winning in the program, they were going to play you. Randy Bennett started me 30 games as a walk-on as a sophomore over other scholarship guys. And so it really opened my eyes to a different way to see the game, a different way to evaluate players, a different way to evaluate teams. And so as I learned that system playing there, once I got into coaching, we did it with Kyle at Columbia. I took it down to Auburn. Bruce let me work on some of that stuff there. And then when I got my chance at San Francisco, we really just kind of took it to the next level. As you know, one of my closest friends, one of my coaches, Jonathan Sapphire, is really, really intelligent. He's another guy that I build a lot of this
We don't
stuff
say
with.
nice things about him on the show.
I try to limit what I say, but I have to give him credit where credit's due. And so we just try to be on the forefront of these things, and we'll do things that, as you mentioned, are unconventional, but we know provide incremental value to either have a better chance to win the games or an incremental value of making our program better. And the one thing that I think, that I'm proud of is like we're going to do it because we know it gives us the best chance, even if it increases our chances 5-10%. And we're going to be able to live with it if it doesn't work. That's something.
I can't wait till that, though, now at Florida. It's going to be out there a lot more, right?
And there's going to be 3 or 4 times in a row where we make the right decision that it doesn't work. Yeah. And I'm crazy enough to be able to sit behind that and take it. Mm-hmm. Because I know overall it's what's best for the program. It's what's for the team. So, again,
so give us some examples of that. I mentioned one. You did it. I think you've done it twice in the last 2 years. You're up by 2. Like 8 seconds left in the game. Yeah. You foul the other team. Yeah. Put them on the line for a 1-on-1 to make sure you get the ball back when the game is tied. What's the theory behind that?
The one from this year that I thought was really it was a really good example of this was we were at Portland. We had just beat BYU by 16 points on the road. Huge road win, got us right back in the NCAA tournament equation. And then we have one of those trap games. We fly up to Portland. We're playing Shantae, who is an awesome coach. He did an awesome job in year 1 at Portland. And Shantae is big nuts, man. Like, he's not afraid. And so we're at the end of the game. We found
Let him hang, Dagan. Nuts hanging, Dagan.
Yeah. We found, we find ourselves in a situation where we're only up 2 with like 13 seconds to go in the game. So we're sitting there, and Jonathan, again, like he's my guy in those moments. We're talking things out. And we're like, we think Shantae's going to try to hit a 3. Right? Shantae doesn't want overtime. Right. Shantae's going to try to dagger us. And if we lose this game, we're probably not going to make the NCAA tournament. Right? So we're sitting there like, we're just going to take that out of the equation. We're going to take losing in regulation out of the equation. We're going to foul him. We fouled a good free throw shooter, 80% free throw shooter, but it was a 1-and-1. The numbers told us if we did that, all right, same makes both. Fine, we have 8 seconds. We're going to put the ball in Jamari Bouye's hands. We're going to let him get downhill. Yep. Really good chance to score.
Worst case scenario,
we go to overtime. Right. We were the better team. Right. Then we have probably a 65% chance to win the game in overtime. So there were like 3 things that had to go wrong with us fouling to lose the game, as opposed to letting Shantae, who's really good, draws up good stuff out of a timeout. They'd take a 30-40% shot to win the game. Once that ball's in the air, it's out of our control.
Right.
They bang that shot, we lose the game.
It makes sense.
And
I mean, it does.
We're probably
when you
not here right now.
It makes sense. It's just, it takes big balls.
It scares you to death, too. Right. I played in Europe 10 years ago. We were up 2, and they're like, we're going to foul here. Yeah. It was similar situation. Yeah. Similar situation. They were doing that 10, 15 years, and I was like, you guys are nuts, right? I'm 23 years old. I'm like, you guys are insane. We're fouling now.
I've never seen this before.
I've never seen it. It worked. Obviously for you.
In that moment, it legitimately gave us between a 15 and 20% better chance to win the game. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Think about that. Like, why would you not do that?
No, you're right. You're right. When you take us through it, it makes all the sense in the world. People just don't do it.
No, you have to have stones.
Yes.
And you have to be able to live with it. If you foul, maybe they make the first one, miss the second, they get the offense rebound, put it back. That's an outcome that can happen.
Right.
But they could, if you don't foul and you let a 3 get banged on your head to lose the game up there, like I wouldn't have been able to live with myself.
Billy Donovan, talk to him
awesome.
yet?
3 or 4 times.
And
he's been amazing. He was. I got the job on Friday. Called him on Saturday. Talked to him for 30 minutes. Yep. And
did you know him at all, really, before
we
this?
met a couple times. Yeah. He came. When they would play in the Warriors in San Francisco, they would practice in our gym. Okay. Just in passing. Coached against him my first year at Auburn, and I just told him, I said, man, listen, I want to learn from you. Like, tell me what made you successful there. Tell me, and I think. He's a guy. He said, Todd, I'll help you as much as you want or as little as you want. I'm here as a resource for you. And like I said, like we've ended up talking 3 or 4 times. We're going to bring in Torian Green to be our director of player development, which nice. I'm really, really excited about. It's not. We're going to bring him after the season's over. I hope they go win the title. Yep. But that we haven't announced that yet. But he was super.
You just did. Yeah, just did.
The word's out.
Breaking news.
But Billy was super on board with it, and he thought it was a great idea to kind of bring back someone who really understood what made Florida great. Like that team, right? They won a national championship. Joakim Noah was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
Comes back.
And the dude comes back.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Horford, I mean, the whole
Corey
team.
Brewer.
Corey Brewer.
It never would happen in
a
million years.
That was my favorite team I've ever covered.
And it was right. It was when I was in college. Like, those guys were going. And
that staff was elite.
Yeah, great staff.
They were they complement each other. It was Billy, it was Anthony, it was Shide, it was Donnie Jones.
No doubt.
They were high character, and they just complement each other.
They did the right way. And I think it says a lot about the place when you can have a guy like that. When does that ever happen? A guy turns down being the number 1 pick in the draft to come back to college. This was before NIL. This was before any of that stuff. And he just had such a good time in Gainesville that he's like, I want to run it back.
He had
he had too much fun in Gainesville.
Too much. Right? Two titles. Ended up being the 3rd pick the next year. It ended up working out really well for him. But it speaks volumes about the city, the school, the job. I think it's one of the most unique, in a great way, jobs in the country because like I said earlier, you don't have to compromise who you are to be good there.
Listen, you're right. Like, you do fit Florida. Again, my tweet wasn't.
There's some
I know
other
it's
ones
gonna
that
be in the
maybe wouldn't have
bulletin
made
board.
sense.
I know you're going to remember it. I know you're going to kill me.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't mean being wrong. I just mean that you got a
This isn't a consensus, by the way.
uphill.
Your opinion is
I'm
not a
fine.
consensus.
I'm the only one.
I'm going to read a quote.
the only
This
one.
is a direct quote from 45 minutes ago.
Okay.
Sean Farnham says, "I think Todd Golden is going to win a national championship in the next 6 years." Let's just
No
let's just
pressure
push
there, huh?
all
Yeah,
those
no
expectations.
pressure.
I'm
No
bringing
pressure.
all the
I'm
pressure.
bringing the expectations down. You should be thanking me.
He's trying to help you
No.
out. That's what it is.
Sean's been first of all, Sean and I are really close. He's followed our team for my whole time as a head coach. He's on the West Coast, obviously, and we spent a lot of time together. And he understands what I'm about. He's seen our program. I saw part of that talking about like we were able to get to the tournament for the first time in 25 years, doing it with guys really that nobody else wanted. To be honest, Jamari Bouye had one scholarship offer out of high school.
Right. What a stud.
Yair Masalski was in the transfer portal. We were, along with two other schools, the only people recruiting him. He goes 15-10, borderline, like almost to the point where he could be an NBA player after that. Khalil Shabazz was a D2 player before we took him at San Francisco. We took Patrick Tape, who started every game for us this year after he sat out basically at Duke and he couldn't get in the rotation. So, like, we find a way with these guys who had great attitudes, great work ethics, guys that really want to be where we're at.
Right.
We're going to double down on that at Florida. Like, I mean, it's easier to do that at Florida. Like, you can find the right guys, and that's what we're excited about. Like, my staff that I hired, a lot of guys that I know, a lot of guys that I feel comfortable with in regards to being on the same page, aligned with, the type of guys that we want to bring in, what we want to do offensively and defensively. And, again, like, we're just going to be ourselves and see where it takes us.
Well, listen, congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, man.
Really, really happy for you. Really
appreciate
happy
you, man.
for you.
Thanks,
It's still when I see the Florida across your chest,
A
I'm
little
like,
surreal,
wow.
right? Yeah.
For me, it even is.
For me, too.
I mean, I've known you a long time and watched you kind of grow up, and
Yeah.
it's very cool. So
Appreciate
congrats.
you guys having me.
Congratulations,
Absolutely.
man.
Thanks, man.
And we don't say nice things about Sapphire
That's
on the
right.
show.
Yeah,
Just-
we
Yeah,
do
well,
not.
for the
All right,
record.
that,
I'll
for the
keep
record.
that's
that.
Ty
Only-
Golden,
only negative
head
things.
coach at Florida.
Thank you, guys.
Joining us here on the field of 68.
Appreciate you, man.
Have a good one, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Everybody.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you, Doc.
All right.
Hey, first of all, when we